We are live. Hi, everybody. I'm James Baxter. I'm here with Morgan Kramer and Kristin Moretz.
Howdy.
This is Goblin Talk, the show that I just can't seem to think of a better name for.
I like it.
Yeah, I just don't. Maybe I'm used to it now, but I don't really know what else we would call it. Like,
I don't know. I keep thinking something like super clever is gonna like appear to me. You know, like I'm gonna wake up one morning and go, "Oh, that's what it should be called," you know. But it hasn't happened yet. So for now, it's Goblin Talk.
I like Goblin Talk in the meantime.
We are here tonight to talk about Entropy. Morgan plays Tessellay, our super edgelord character, rogue. Got a rat and everything, and Kristin plays Nash the villain, who is a elf ranger. You're a ranger, right? Yeah, an elf ranger with a gigantic anime. Yeah.
body, full body,
Yeah.
whole thing.
I love how she has villain in her name, and yet I'm the edgelord.
I love it too.
I don't know what to tell you. I mean,
Just
you know.
look right over it.
Is it just because Tessellay wears all black?
And has a rat.
I wear all black too, and my skin is purple. So, I don't know.
Is your skin purple?
Yeah.
Are you a drow?
No?
Okay. Checking.
No, I just got that gloom stalker thing going on, so I decided to have kind of gloomy skin.
Purple's cool. I need to, if your skin's purple, I need to adjust your token, but yes. Did not realize that.
It's like that light purpley gray kind of vibe, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
So, Morgan.
Yes.
Hey, Morgan.
Hey.
Between you and Kristin, we just finished episode 10 of Entropy.
I have my notes.
Yeah, you better get your notes out, because I was gonna see if between the two of you, you could give us like a overall recap of the whole thing so far. Just like briefly.
The whole thing?
Yeah, you don't have to recount every moment, but maybe hit the highlights. What do you think?
I mean, sure.
Those for the viewers, there's 3 of them, one of which is Steven. Hi, Steven. For anybody who happens to come in, what's happened so far?
Well, a sort of ragtag group of individuals have assembled in the small coastal town of Angul, which is part of your Scythia setting, which is, I'm not gonna get it right this time, a post-apocalyptic neon hellscape.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's what I called it. Yeah.
Where an event known as the Rupture, which was essentially the arcane equivalent of a nuclear bomb going off, has covered the majority of the continent in slag, which is almost like magical fallout that has blotted out the sun and leaves most of the land in perpetual darkness. Some places not quite as impacted get a little bit of dim light during the day, such as Angul. But anyway, our group banded together to fight off this creature that attacked the town's fishing catch. Our
It
skills
attacked
were
Nash's fishing catch in particular.
Yeah, Nash, the fisher queen. But our battle was witnessed by some mysterious gray cloaked figures who later approached us and invited us to the interior of a nearby mountain to become part of a strange, secretive academy type setting called Haskoli Lazuli.
Yes, that is correct.
Took them up on their invitation because for the vast majority of us, it was more safety and comfort than any of us were used to in our lifetime. So we essentially enrolled in this school, this program to become scholars, which are an organization that is dedicated to rooting out and preserving knowledge and artifacts from the world before the rupture, as well as banishing magic in all its articulations, because most people blame magic in general for the current state of the world.
And was founded by a dragon.
A ancient blue dragon before the rupture, worth noting. Yes. And is now presided over by a headmaster Echo, a tiny little ancient gnome.
Yeah. You guys keep trying to... You keep bringing the dragon back.
Yeah, we keep saying there's someone in this academy that is actually Pascoli Lazuli in disguise.
I mean, there's no evidence that anyone is a dragon.
No, there's not.
No, that's all you guys being paranoid, I think.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. But yeah, also, it could be.
Yeah, there's no evidence that there's not a dragon disguised in their midst.
Well, that is true. Yes, I'll give you that one.
So yeah, we've been studying, learning different skills from an odd assortment of professors that are still at the academy, as well as a combat trainer named Crow, a badass dwarf that we've recently learned some more about. We were approaching time for our final exam to become a pentacle, a group of 5 that operates as a unit of scholars.
Mm-hmm.
But it was sort of an expedited process, as in our last session, we were told by Ulrich, who is head of the scholar program, that there was a warlord named Clunk marching on Angul, and that we were the only pentacle, even though we weren't official yet, close enough to defend the town. Mm-hmm. So that became our final exam. We teamed up with oh my god, what is Alden's character's name?
Adaman.
Adaman's buddy back in the town helped us with some fortifications in preparation. We essentially corralled these deviants into the town center, and through our preparation and skill in combat, we're able to repel the threat.
But mostly our balloon tower defense tactical planning. Okay, and the other reason that I feel like potentially there could be a dragon is because Headmaster Echo had mentioned that Lazuli was the headmaster before him, and they don't know where he is, and they haven't seen him for some time. Mm-hmm. And dragons don't typically leave their, lairs, so to speak. So
there's quite a horde there.
Yeah.
A horde of knowledge. Artifacts,
weapons, old tapestries, everything.
James, clarify something for me.
Sure.
We were all chatting with our buddy Jimbo and learned that he and General Reinhardt Crow were buddies. They had fought together. Did Jimbo tell us they grew up together, or just that they knew each other from the past?
Just that they know each other.
Okay, so
they call each other cousin, but it's
yeah. Okay, so
they've both been alive for 200 years at least. So yeah. Okay, so here's a question. This one's from Morgan. How do you think Tess has changed since we started the show, and why?
I think she's definitely kind of been forced to recognize her own limitations as an individual. Everything that she did before coming to the university was done on her own. She's been a loner for the vast majority of her life. And now she's having to relearn how to apply her skills as part of a unit instead of a a singular figure. And I think learning that she is more efficient as part of a group, is more protected as part of a group, and despite her lacking social skills, can get along with others to a certain extent, is sort of reframing her outlook on what she wants for her future.
What does she want for her future?
I don't think she knows yet, but for so long, she hasn't really ever indulged in the luxury of wanting anything beyond surviving.
I don't think anyone in Scythia has, unless you like live in absolution. I don't know. It's not really a luxury we get there.
That's definitely on her radar too. Absolution, hearing about what life is like there.
Oh yeah,
definitely a new sort of beacon that's calling to her a little bit.
Well, you know, Morgan recapped Entropy so far. Kristin.
What?
Is that Drogo?
Yeah.
Love Drogo. It's great. I love Drogo. Is there anything? You don't have to recap Endless Midnight in its entirety, but what do you think from Endless Midnight is pertinent to the current game?
So I think we should start with the one thing that no matter what language you speak, no matter what your background is, the one thing that everyone relates to, which is food. And the food in Entropy has so much rooted in what was Endless Midnight, which ended up being very food heavy too, from picnics with Redford to, you know, Turnock's whole like growth storyline. What was his girlfriend's name?
Marlene.
Yeah. Marlene cooking and using that as like a representation of love and appreciation. So
those potato pancakes.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, if we want to talk about it in a really broad sense, I mean, the food from Absolution, which is, you know, in turn related to Endless Midnight, is obviously a huge piece of this campaign, which is awesome. We have a couple of reoccurring characters. You know, there was Headmaster Echo was talking about one of his best pupils, his star pupil, which is no other than our worst enemy, Corinne Winters.
Hashtag Corinne was innocent.
Hashtag no, she wasn't.
Oh yeah, she was.
No, you're outnumbered on this one.
It still surprises me how you guys reacted to that. I expected something totally different.
So I mean, that's another key is, you know, from Endless Midnight, Corinne was really kind of the antagonist. I mean, she was guiding the antagonists, which were us throughout the story. And then we had some of the secondary characters. We had the Tooth, which, you know, that's where Mulligan was from. That's where, not really where Jimbo is from, but I mean, it's
hard to say where Jimbo's from.
Yeah, he was there a lot. So you can.
What was her name? The half-orc that was part of the other Pentacle.
Start with a B. I have her name somewhere.
Dindra?
Dindra, yeah.
Oh, Dindra.
Dindra was from the Tooth, right?
Yeah. Originally, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean that was
Bruja.
Oh, I was thinking of Bruja, yeah. So that's definitely another kind of reoccurring theme. And then there is obviously the Hearth was discussed, which there was an episode on Endless Midnight where we all went to the Hearth and we had kind of a low-key suicide mission there that we all somehow sort of barely survived.
Turnock!
Woo! That was an emotional episode.
Yeah,
so I don't know what kind of like recap, if you want me to really recap Endless Midnight or just kind of give some of those ties, but there's
I don't know. You know, if people are interested in Endless Midnight, they should go listen to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They absolutely. There's only 7 episodes. Like, come on.
Thinking about putting it on YouTube. Just use the Scythia thing that Autumn Orange made for us. The album artwork as a picture, and just have the podcast on there. Thinking about doing that.
Yeah.
Spotify's been weird lately. been doing weird stuff.
I mean, Endless Midnight definitely has a different feel to it than some of the other Neon Goblin podcasts, but I don't know. The story and the characters, you gotta listen to it. It's good.
So, compared to Endless Midnight, where do you think you are in the time stream right now? In Entropy.
You mean like on a timeline comparing the
Yeah,
two?
like if you are right now, when was the end of Endless Midnight?
I feel like it could be anywhere from like 8 months to 5 years. Because we've got Jimbo. He doesn't seem that different.
No.
Yeah, I kind of thought it was congruent because Jimbo comes in and out of Endless Midnight too. He's not a constant character, right?
Jimbo is a dwarf, and they live like 400 years, so it's hard to say.
Yeah.
I mean, because he hasn't changed doesn't mean, it hasn't been a long time.
Well, we do know that, the event that happened at the end of Endless Midnight has already happened. There's already sunlight over absolution.
Yes.
Plus, we're also seeing a lot of agricultural product coming out of Endless Midnight, which would mean there has to be at least some time to get those crops cycling and flourishing and fruiting.
They brought in apples.
Mm-hmm.
How long does it take for an apple tree to grow?
Right.
Do you guys know? I do.
I'm sure you do. Are you Googling it? Let's see. How long does
I know it takes like 4 years for them to bear fruit. So, they can grow in whatever period of time, but you're not going to get any fruit for like 4 to 7 years.
That's very good. You didn't even have to look that up.
No.
You just knew that off the top of your head.
Yes.
Kristin is a runoff expert, everybody.
5 to 50 years. I don't know.
So Kristin knows a lot about trees and erosion and stuff like that. So
it's true.
She's a real life druid.
Mm-hmm.
That's why that's the only characters I play. That's all I know how to do.
So it could be anywhere between 3 to 4 years to 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I forgot that they mentioned that Absolution has light. So yeah, it would not be congruent. That's not right. Don't listen to me.
Jimbo, you're not going to see a big change from him in 50 years or so because he's a dwarf. They have longer life expectancies, so.
Right.
Okay, so you don't know. What's your guess? Where do you think you are in the timeline right now?
A year? I really don't think it's that far apart. Everything feels so similar.
Just thinking back on the relationship that developed between Jimbo and Mulligan and how Mull wanted to keep Jimbo around for a little while in those initial few years of exploration beyond Absolution, I feel like it has to have been probably, I'm going to guess as little as like 5 or 6 years, but I would guess more around between 15 and 30. Time for all the mortal cast of Endless Midnight to have settled down and given up their, adventuring. I guess we could be super meta about it and ask Jimbo next time we see him who's running Absolution these days.
You can do that.
Gosh. Yeah, is it Redford? Oh,
I wouldn't begrudge you that.
Violet could still be around. She's a Warforged.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's a conversation I don't even know if I'm ready to have, because Turnock was an old Blizzard. If it's 15 years, that's Turnock's life expectancy.
Okay, hold on.
So
I'm having a memory here.
Uh-oh.
I'm trying to find where we first met Jimbo in my notes.
From Endless Midnight?
No, in Entropy, because he mentioned a scholar in Absolution who we know to be the Doctor. God, what was his name? I know I have it in here somewhere. It's just so messy and chaotic.
It starts with a K.
He was like Redford's rival, sort of.
Steven. Uh-huh.
What is his name? Help me out, chat.
It starts with a
Come
K.
on.
I want to look at my notes, but my computer's dying, so I'm dealing with that.
Well, I know I have it. I know I have it.
Tell her what it is, Steven.
Help
Steven's
me!
in the chat. Tell her what it is.
Steven doesn't
He doesn't know what it
remember
is.
notes.
He doesn't know. Maybe he does. I don't know.
He doesn't know.
He's named after one of my favorite synthwave bands.
Oh, Prescott forgot. Kavinsky!
There you go.
Nice.
Yeah. Dr. Kavinsky.
Who is apparently still there.
Hmm?
And Kavinsky was a human.
Steven.
So.
Uh-huh.
And Kavinsky was already an adult.
Yeah.
So, it can't be more than like 30 years.
He was, you know, mid to late 40s, I would say, when he met up.
Yeah, I was about to say he was older, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it can't be more than 30 years. I'm gonna guess like 20 years approximately since the events of Endless Midnight.
20 years. Well,
15 to 20.
I'm in the 1 to 5.
Okay.
Only because I'm holding on to what is a certain lizard's lifespan. I'm hoping he's still around.
So that's a good question. If you were to encounter what were your characters now as NPCs, would that be a good thing to you? Would that be a bad thing?
I mean,
I would love it, but
I don't think it would really mean anything to Nash in particular. Like,
no, I mean
it would
to
just
Kristin, not to Nash, but to Kristin.
Oh yeah, it would be awesome. But I don't. Yeah, definitely.
I think Tess would be really, really wary of someone like Violet, someone that she's never encountered their kind before. She would also be really wary of Mulligan because, you know, the brute strength of half-warts, when you're a lone human out in the wasteland, it's an intimidating threat. And I think Tess has definitely had to face down some threats on her own before and had some close calls. So she would probably be really wary of anyone that she is used to having a fight or flight response to, because that's still kind of ingrained in the back of her mind, even though she's now surrounded by this pentacle.
I definitely also think it would be neat meeting.
Uh-oh. Did your sound cut out?
I lost Kristin.
If we, yeah, sorry, someone was calling me, so it popped up. But I think it would be cool to meet like Turnock and Redford and Violet specifically for Nash. The only reason is because they're kind of, they're a little bit more ordinary people too, and I think that's something for Nash's character. She's not necessarily like this extraordinary wasteland wanderer. Like she's just a fisherman. So, you know, it's interesting being at this university in general, going from ordinary to extraordinary, so to speak.
How do you think Nash has changed from the beginning of the game to now?
I don't think she has. I don't think she's really ready to leave her.
That's what I was thinking too.
Her roots at all. She's kind of being forced to learn new skills, which is never a bad thing. But if she had a choice right now to go back to the boat, I don't know why she wouldn't do it. There hasn't been enough of a reason to stay on this path.
Do you think seeing what we accomplished as a pinnacle last session could change that?
I mean, yeah, it was pretty sweet riding on the back of that motorcycle. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely not been as fun of a time for her.
Why not? What would make it more of a fun time for Nash?
I don't necessarily mean like fun. I mean, she just misses her crew and her boat and her doing the same thing every day and knowing what that day is going to look like, even though it's a lot harder than eating bread and cheese and hanging out with prawns. But
So she's still tethered, is what you're saying.
yeah, I mean, I feel like I made that pretty clear to Ulrich when we were leaving. It was like, if I have a choice, I'm not going to choose this pentacle.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay. What do you think about that, Tesla? How does that make you feel?
Tess has definitely seen that in Nash and to an extent in Adaman. And she definitely really doesn't think Vorty takes it seriously at all. So while she sees what this pinnacle is capable of and she knows it's her best bet at survival, I don't think she necessarily has faith in it yet. So she's just biding her time to see what happens until a better bet comes along.
This is all coming together very nicely. Okay. So in our last episode, there was a warlord. And by the way, Morgan, thank you for establishing that half-orcs and Scythia have southern accents.
You're very welcome.
You fought a warlord who was a sorcerer type with a big great axe, and there were motorcycles and all kinds of shenanigans. Did you have a good time in that episode? What did you think?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how I'm going to return bad news. 2d12 and 2d6 on a sneak attack. Imagine if I critted with that shit. Oh my god. At level, what are we? Level, I don't know.
4. Yeah, you're level 4. Yeah.
Might have to talk to Crow.
You can try.
Build my own.
Borrow it.
Yeah.
Often.
Yeah, you can try.
Yeah, stealing from a dragon's hoard, man. It's a risky thing to do.
Yep. I don't know why you keep talking about a dragon. Why do you think there's a dragon around?
I will say I don't think it's Crow because Jimbo mentioned his eyes being dramatically changed from the rupture. And I don't think that would have happened if he were a dragon. I think if it's anyone, my bet is on Echo.
I bet it's someone we haven't met. I feel like they're all kind of his minions, and they're
also
not.
What's the mystery going on with this fucking the generator panel and the books on electrical theory? Like, yes, Ulrich is like, oh, the professors mess with it sometimes. They do maintenance, but here's the thing: if that's true, they wouldn't need the books.
No, there's a dragon down deep in this mountain, and it is having all of these professors do its bidding for them.
What is this bidding?
I don't know. Gaining money. Power. Yeah.
Money? There's no money. Nobody has any money. Nobody has any power either, really.
Not yet.
Well, the scholar's whole deal is gathering knowledge and artifacts. That sounds like a dragon's hoard to me. Granted, it sounds more like green dragon than blue dragon, but you never know. Maybe we got like the Chroma Conclave down there. Who fucking knows?
Okay, so Morgan's prediction is Echo.
Yeah.
And Chris's prediction is that it's nobody that you've met.
Yeah, but Echo is like working for said person.
Okay.
If it's not Echo, I feel like Echo knows who
exactly. Echoes know who it is. Yeah.
Maybe there's a certain boulder the Pinnacle should check out. Listen, I agree, But we're not ready yet. If we find a dragon at level 4, with Vorty's like nonplussed attitude, I feel like it could go really badly.
I feel like if there was a dragon, it would eat Vorty. Like, yeah.
He would be probably fine with that.
So when Vorty dies, who do you want to replace him in your pinnacle? Because, I mean...
No one. We just have a square.
No, we're not gonna let Vorty die.
I mean, we already made a big deal about it being a pinnacle, right? So we have to have 5 people. So maybe Vorty will survive. We'll see. I don't have very high hopes, but he did pretty well in the.
He did do really well in that battle.
Yeah, he killed a couple of guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's kind of on his own
if we need to.
He's skilled.
Yeah.
So in our next episode, what do you expect to see happen? What are your predictions for that?
Well, there better be some kind of ceremony, because we graduated, so have some good food.
Okay.
I don't feel like there will be a lot of pomp and circumstance. I definitely think there's going to be some sort of recognition of our becoming an official pinnacle, even if it's just in the way of like, congratulations, here's your first job, or here's some items.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's more realistic.
I am very excited to get out into the world as a pentacle. I know
so am I.
We've been given these skills for a reason. To have them at this early of a level, I know that there's going to be a lot of really interesting challenges for us out there. And yeah, I think I've played enough with you guys in whatever capacity for y'all to know that I love finding weird ways to solve problems, or I don't know. I like a good challenge, whether it's a puzzle, whether it's a social challenge, whether it's a combat. I don't know. I like being pushed.
You and me both. What about you, Kristin? You like being pushed?
Oh yeah, I love it. I mean, I'm not usually the main strategizer of the party. I'm usually much more of a support character. That's how I lead a lot in my real life, and I try not to do that in fantasy worlds, to be honest. I like to step down from any kind of like lead role. So it's nice to I don't know, it's nice to try and help. I know, I mean, Mulligan, like, I'm back. You asked me to recap Endless Midnight. Now I can't stop thinking about Mulligan and Turdock. But, you know, when we were trying to plan out the whole Balloon Tower Defense Warlord situation in Ongul, like it's a lot of fun. It's a very interesting way to play, especially with 5 people who are could not be more different. So it's always fun.
Yeah, no, you're all very different.
I love Alex. He's one of my favorite people to play with, and he knows that. But Tessellay despises Vorty with a passion. She sees him as someone who's never had to work for anything, let alone just to survive. He sees him as not taking anything seriously, regardless of what the consequences could be. And she's seen what that can get people in the real world. And
I think that's how Cavan feels about Gran sometimes, where he's just like, how has this old lady survived for this long?
Well, how does Nash feel about Vorty?
I mean, Nash
I know you've been bunking together and stuff, but you know.
Nash has a super rebellious streak and a 0 and absolutely hates authority, so she loves Vorty. Okay. They're pals. Okay. And we both also definitely don't like being there, so I think that automatically okay, if you're going to wake up this morning, I'm going to wake up this morning too. And we're going to try our best. Well, Nash is going to try our best and Bordy's going to get through the day in his own way as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, I feel like Nash has definitely a different relationship with Bordy just because of their kind of similar places within the Pinnacle. And are probably taken a lot less seriously than Tess, Adamant, and Roscoe too, in terms of like skills and just like general planning, you know, all of that stuff. So,
what do you guys think about Roscoe?
I love him.
Until his freaking magic surges destroy all of us.
Yeah, he's begun farting out magic.
Yeah.
Maybe
he's
a
fine
problem.
for now until that backfires.
Tess is really fascinated by Roscoe, and she kind of sees a kindred spirit there in someone that's, you know, kind of scraped by. He had his parents for, we're not really sure how long before the daughter got them, which is kind of similar to her own story. But so I think she sees a kindred spirit there, but also he's just got such a boundless honesty about him. Like when he's happy, he doesn't, you know, subdue any of that joy. When he's angry, he lets the rage out. Yeah, so that honesty is just something new to Tess and something she's really captivated by, I think.
I should give you a little more time next episode for role playing. You don't know anything about Tess's backstory.
I don't think
you don't know anything about Tess other than she keeps a rat on her.
Yeah, I mean the only backstory you guys have we don't really know anyone's backstory. I mean, I am just a fisherman. I haven't been a fisherman my whole life. Like,
we don't know Adamans at all. We just know that he was in Ongul. We know a good bit about Vorties.
Yeah, he's an open book.
And you know a little bit about Roscoe's too. Yeah, you know Roscoe's.
I mean, there hasn't been a ton of time for. I guess there could have been, but we've all kind of had this one focus. You know, getting better, exploring this university, finding out what's behind that damn tapestry.
Yeah.
Yeah, while you become friends, I don't think you've really become like bonded yet.
Nothing bad has happened to us. Like this until last episode, that was the first thing we've been forced to bond over. Until then, it was just like, oh, let's go to school.
Kristin, do you think you have to have something bad happen to you to bond with other people?
No, but if you want to do it quickly, that is a way to do it.
I'd agree with that.
Which is, you know, typically what bonds people in quicker fashions. I mean, we haven't been. I guess it's been 6 months.
So
for a lot of people on the waste, that's not time to open up, I feel like.
So let me get a couple of predictions from you. Where do you think the story is going to go from here?
Into the wild.
And then we end in absolution.
We know that necromancer's up there. I feel like that seed was planted for a reason. Absolution has been brought up. Ickerman has been brought up.
Fiskar was brought up.
Yeah, Fiskar. The Tooth. Like there have been little nods to other places in this setting. So as a DM, I know that's there because you're laying groundwork for places we may visit one day. Who knows why, when, or how? But the setting is being fleshed out. It was mentioned that there were more dragons than just Lazuli. Who knows if that will have anything. But I do think we're about to, now that we're an official Pinnacle, we're going to get our first job and be sent out into Scythia. And I think we're going to really start facing stronger challenges as a regular thing. And it's going to become you either work together or you die. And that's what Tess is worried about. Because again, she doesn't have much faith in Vorty's commitment, and honestly she's a little about Nash as well.
Yeah, I mean, you would have if I was you, I would feel the same way. I mean, I think Adaman has a strong enough, like, you know, he does have a strong enough will and a little less of what it seems like an attachment to Ongul that you don't have as much to worry about. But I mean, yeah, other than you and Roscoe, I don't. It's a reasonable thing to have that worry.
Even though Adaman has that attachment to Ongul, he seems very disciplined. Yeah. And I think he recognizes the utilitarian goal that these scholars serve, and he understands the value of that a little bit. I think we saw that in like the culture class with the old professor, whatever his name is, the one that's like on death's door.
Pickman,
yeah,
Professor Pickman. By the way, Steven, if you have any questions, now's the time to ask them in the chat. Or Prescott, or anybody else that's in there right now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Prescott, subscribe.
I just saw Steven's guesses as to Kavinsky's name.
Kevorkian, yeah.
Oh boy.
So when you think about Endless Midnight as compared to Entropy, does that color where you think Entropy is going to go?
I would like it to.
Do you mean like the character bonding, or you just mean this like going to absolution?
No, the general plot. So Endless Midnight had a very central. There was a very specific arc, right? And while I knew what the arc was ahead of time, you guys, the characters, you created the script as we went along. Do you think Entropy is anything like that, or do you think I'm just pulling shit out of my ass every week, or do you think what do you think?
I think it's got a few pre-planned threads to explore, but I do feel this is going to be a lot more open world than Absolution was.
Definitely.
Yeah, it is a lot more open world.
A little more sandboxy.
Mm-hmm.
Steven wants to know what Tesla's deal is.
What do you mean, what is Tesla's?
What's her deal?
Who knows?
What's her deal? I mean...
Prescott agrees. Sandbox.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can tell us what Tesla's deal is. Erica doesn't know the answer to that. Don't listen to her.
Deal? I mean, she's been fighting to survive for the majority of her life, and I don't know, she's not used to being around other people, let alone being dependent on them.
Well, the first episode we had, she slept at a barn or something. Instead of going to the tavern or the rooming house or somewhere like that. Tesla was perfectly fine with sleeping in a barn.
She's not from Ongul. She's used to roughing it. Erica does know everything.
She doesn't know that, no. She doesn't. She really doesn't. There's no point bribing Erica. Find out what's going to happen.
Do it anyway.
I mean, you could bribe her, but you're not going to find anything useful. Well, I guess Sunday we'll see where it's going to go. Do you guys have any questions for me?
Who's the dragon?
Do you have any questions that I'm going to answer?
Tell us who's the dragon.
No.
I do have a question. Did you expect for so many characters to not want to be in the university?
Yeah, I imagine it'd be something like that. Nobody makes an adventurer with an authoritarian mindset. You know, like, yeah, tell me what to do. You know what I mean? Nobody does that. And I don't think the scholars would want that. They want people that can think for themselves. They can lead. They can follow. They have a curiosity to them, right? That's the kind of person they would want. So they wouldn't want somebody who is immediately going to just submit to whatever they want. At least, I mean, if I wouldn't, if I was in their shoes.
Why did they pick so many people from Angul? Just because it was nearby?
That's a very good question.
It was synchronicity.
Yeah, that's what they told you. It was synchronicity, yeah. Mm-hmm. It just happened that way.
I think it is worth mentioning, though, that calling back to how Tess feels about Roscoe and then how Tess feels about the university, that conversation that she overheard between Echo and Ulrich and Crow after Roscoe's first Wild Soul surge dramatically shifted her view of the university. It definitely was kind of a glimpse behind the curtain at what she had kind of started to feel was like this sort of unpredicted salvation has a really dark side. Like the language that he used, I wrote down verbatim because Echo asked Crow if he thought Roscoe was salvageable or usable. And that's not how you talk about people. Tess is not a people person, but she knows that's not how you talk about people, let alone people that you're supposed to be bringing into your protection and your system and your mini society. So that's definitely a huge red flag that is still very much in the back of his mind.
I can't believe that Roscoe handled that situation so well. I mean, it has to be his sweet, lovable halfling heart, because that would have been Nash's last day there. No question.
Well, I mean, if you're a wild soul barbarian, you take things in stride, you know.
When you have Steven on Goblin Talk to talk about entropy, I want you to ask him what Roscoe felt in that moment and why what the university has to offer is worth that kind of,
Well, maybe in a week or so we'll have Steven on.
Truly, the food is on the top of his mind. Okay, that's fair. Because if you've been living in the waste for a while and you start getting fed well,
it's all about the bread. It's all about the bread.
Yeah, literally.
I mean, we had cookies.
I know. In Scythia.
Yeah. I don't even think that they've had cookies in Absolution yet.
Who knows?
Maybe they
not
have.
when we were. I mean, in the Endless Midnight timeline. Sorry.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if that's all the questions you have, we'll go ahead and wrap this thing up. Is that all you got, Morgan, Kristin?
For now.
You can ask me anything you want. I don't necessarily have to answer it.
I do have a question.
Oh, here we go.
Slicks.
Uh-huh.
Is he on the spectrum?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That's what I was picking up.
Mm-hmm.
And Tess, obviously, like, health, especially, neurodivergence is probably not a major topic of study in Scythian medicine.
It might have been before the rupture.
Right. But Tess definitely saw that there was something different there. And that honestly drew her to him more because she's used to being, the oddball on the fringe of society.
Mm-hmm.
That's why she was so eager to develop a kinship with him, which has now turned into her being, a gunner.
Yeah.
So, and that was pure spur of the moment. I did not plan ahead of time for Tess to go in that direction, but the opportunity presented itself.
I kind of hope somebody would.
So. Saw what happened. So.
I think guns and D&D go together pretty well. I know a lot of DMs don't think that, but I do. They're not anymore. It's not a lot different than having a longbow. It's just, as far as flavor goes.
Right.
So, unless you have bad news, Which, good luck.
I misfired on like my first shot with it.
Oh well, yeah, that's true.
Sad day.
Huh.
How do you expect to keep us together as a party, James, after our first assignment?
I don't think it'll be much more difficult than keeping it together as a D&D group. There's me, and then there's 5 of you. Getting everybody together at the same time every week is a challenge sometimes. So we'll see how it goes, but I don't think it'll be that hard. You guys all seem invested in the story.
Oh no.
Oh, Kristen froze up. I mean, it's a nice picture, but she's froze. Yeah. Very, yeah. She went, oh no, never heard from her again. Okay,
what
so.
What would you do if one of our characters died? Would a new player come in, or would we just roll a new character?
It depends. If the player wanted to continue, then I would let them bring in a new character, and we'll work it into the story somehow. If that player wanted to move on and do something else, I would bring in another player, because I made a big deal about this pinnacle thing. So,
Right.
so
Did it to yourself.
there needs to be 5 of you. However that happens. So,
Squares on.
yeah, as long as we can all show up at relatively the same time every week or every other week, then I don't see a problem keeping the pinnacle itself together. It's more about the players.
I do have one last question for you, James.
Okay.
How does running something like Endless Midnight or Entropy that's purely homebrew compare to like when you ran Curse of Strahd, where I feel like I didn't play in that game, but from what I've heard, it sounds like it was still a very custom tailored experience.
Well, I mean, when you're playing something like Curse of Strahd, the book is a guideline. It's not law. I mean, and I did take some, when certain parts of the story, I either didn't read a line or two that was important and didn't notice it, or like Esmeralda is supposed to have a prosthetic leg.
Right.
But I did not notice that when I read her stat block, so it just never came up.
Gotcha.
It would have come up, I suppose, if I'd read that in her stat block, but everybody's human, I'm a guy, I'm just reading the book, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, I get it.
I turned the abbot into something pretty horrible. I think if you're taking if you're playing a pre-written module, I think you should try to change it as much as you want to, to make it into something a little bit different, even though you're following the bare bones of a story. But when you're doing a homebrew thing like this, you can do whatever the hell you want.
Is that more overwhelming prep-wise? Just because I know running my homebrew game, it was so much more work than...
I generally take it... Well, I mean, a lot of the major stuff is already done because we did Endless Midnight. We have the setting. I don't have every single place in the setting worked out just yet. Because, I mean, it's a whole continent. It's like the size of New Zealand, you know what I'm saying? So it's big, and there's all kinds of things in there, and I don't have all that worked out yet. But I have the setting itself, bare bones, mostly worked out. So, if Entropy was going to be totally different, a completely different timeline than Endless Midnight, it would have been a lot different because I would have had to work a lot more stuff out.
Yeah.
But most of the hard work's been done already. So, and for the most part, I do it a session at a time. For the most part.
No.
With my home game on Fridays, that's what I do. Is like usually when I'm in the shower Friday morning, and that's when I get my ideas for that game and that evening. You know what I mean? I'm sure Kristen can relate.
I'm running Storm Kings right now, and you know, it is pre-written, but I didn't read the whole book before starting.
I feel you.
So I just kind of have been. I read like the first 3 chapters and then the last chapter. Then from there, I was just like, well, we'll just flip through and see what we find. And yeah, it's not. I wouldn't say I ran that campaign, but I used the book as a resource. So.
That's how I kind of was with Strahd. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Yeah, I've forgotten so many important things.
Some of the things I did for Strahd, I found other online resources. Reddit is a big resource for D&D.
Oh yeah.
And there's a whole subreddit for Curse of Strahd. So I didn't use Strahd's regular stat block out of the book. I used the real Devil Strahd from DM's Guild, and that made it a lot more interesting. Let me tell you. Yeah, he TPK'd the party like twice, I think, in the thing.
Oh.
They were resurrected. You know what I mean? Like they wake up and they're like, "What the fuck happened?" You know. And if it wasn't a TPK, it was close. You know, he could have TPK'd them, but he didn't because he's Strahd. And it's cat and mouse. You know what I mean? Where the horror comes from. And most of the time for these things, I do a session at a time. Because if I planned it out much further ahead of time, you know, we get to one session, you guys completely change it all up. You know what I mean?
Right.
Which is how the game's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
So if you guys change it all up, then I have to redo everything. Like, it's much better as a DM just go a session at a time with this kind of thing. Have your setting, and you have your basic rules for the thing, and then you guys actually decide what's going to happen in the next one.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Eric is right. You need to be on an episode of Disengaged.
Keeps trying to get me to do
Hey.
that.
Everyone's been on Disengaged. Why are you not on there?
We just haven't made time to do it, that's all.
You can't do it.
We just haven't made time to do it, that's all.
Well, make time.
You know, and there's technical things, because with you guys, you can do it over Zoom and Zencaster, and we're in the same house. Like, how do we, you know?
Just go downstairs.
Yep,
Oh yeah, and we gotta get the
too,
players from Frigophobia.
Erica's probably going to move Disengaged onto the stream pretty soon.
Oh, cool.
I think. I'm pretty sure. We haven't completely talked about that yet, but I'm pretty sure she's going to move to stream. So, and then you can just, it's more like a conversation. Podcasts are a lot more edited, glossy, and everything's got to be just right, because, you know, you're hearing it in your car on the way to work or something like that. You know, streams are a little different. They're messier. They're more like a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, I felt like when we were doing Endless Midnight, I was like an actress in a play. I was like, I gotta be.
Yeah.
I mean, we were all on all the time.
yeah.
We didn't really like. I guess you won't be able to hear this via Spotify or anything like that. But I mean, it was like, other than on our breaks, there wasn't side chatting. Really,
No.
Everything was in character, on time. Like,
It was stressful. Yeah. I think the end result speaks for itself, but it was stressful. And it was a completely different animal than what we're doing now.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I mean, I enjoy what we're doing now. Part of me misses the heavy editing of Endless Midnight, you know, where it sounded exactly like it should by the end, you know what I mean? I like that part of it, you know, where it was a story from beginning to end. But, you know, if I wanted to write a novel, I could shut myself in my bedroom and write a novel and no one would ever read it, you know what I mean? It's not the same thing as doing what we're doing, you know, where I create the bones of a story and you guys flesh it out.
It's also nice because it was a mini series too. I mean, you know, it's hard for you to keep that level of editing up for an extended period, but you know, it was a short.
Yeah, I never counted on more than 6 or 7 episodes. So I think eventually, originally I was thinking 6, and I went 7.
Mm-hmm.
And also some of the episodes were really long, so it probably was more like 8.
One of them was like 2 hours, and some of them were like, most of them were like an hour and a half, but one of them went like 2.5 hours, I think. Episode 3, maybe the one where you fought the Upper Hulk. Combat always takes longer, you know.
Especially when you're getting like 5 attacks and only hitting one of them.
Yeah. Great job, Mulligan. Yeah. But I think Endless Midnight is one of the best things we've done. I'd like to do something like that in the future. We'll see. That kind of heavy story, heavy role play, very rigid, you know, but where we're not just, you know, fucking around like we do on our stream now, which I enjoy that too. I do. And it's a lot less stress, you know. We just go live, and then we do what we do. We play Dungeons and Dragons for an hour or two, and that's that. And you know, I think it's a different audience too. Like I think if people are listening to podcasts on Spotify, they're expecting more of a show.
Right. And
if people are watching Twitch and watching live streams, they want to feel like they're hanging out with people playing D&D. You know what I mean? It's like all the Let's Players, which I might do that at some point myself. I got Baldur's Gate 3. There's no I have the technology. There's no reason why I can't just jump on stream and play Baldur's Gate 3 or something like that, which is D&D adjacent. But people watch those the Let's Players, you know, because it feels like you're hanging out with your buddy on the couch playing video games. You know, they don't play it because they don't watch it because it's a show. They want to feel like they're hanging out, and I think D&D shows are the same way. Like they want to feel like they're hanging out with their buddies, playing Dungeons and Dragons, which is what we're gonna give them on Twitch. But if we ever do a highly produced show like Endless Midnight again, I got some ideas.
Exciting.
I got ideas. Erica's got ideas. Erica's talking about doing a Starfinder campaign.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
And DMing it.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God! Sign me up.
That's right.
I've never played Starfighter, but I'm here for it.
Me neither. I heard it's better than Pathfinder.
I mean, that's not saying much. Don't at me.
Don't at me. Yeah. Oh,
That's
she's
awesome.
not saying anything in the chat. She might have wandered off. But yeah, she's been talking about a Starfinder campaign, so who knows? Well, do you guys have anything else to say before we head out? Any more questions? I may or may not answer them. I don't know.
No, I gotta see where this goes. Like, you know, we've had one goal this entire campaign. I don't know. I have ideas of, you know, we just talked about where I think it's gonna go, but
well, okay, so
much unknown now.
For Endless Midnight, I had a 3-act structure. I had a beginning, I had a middle, and an end, right? And you guys were along for the ride for the most part, and you made it extremely entertaining during that ride. I also have a 3-act structure for this game.
Oh.
But it's a lot more open-ended. So I have somewhere I'm going. And I'm not going to tell you what it is. Hey, we got more spam in our chat.
I'm looking on it.
And I'm not going to tell you where it is that we're going. But I think you're going to hate me. But it's okay. Because, you know.
It makes good TV.
Yeah, if you want to have a story, you got to have drama, you know? You don't have drama, you don't have a story, right, Kristin?
I agree. Yeah.
It would have been the same story if Turnak hadn't almost, you know, expired next to the hearth. Which is still there, by the way. Man.
Someone talked about it, and one of the professors mentioned it.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
I think so.
Oh gee, I don't remember that. You know. I don't pay much
It
attention.
might have been a professor. Somebody mentioned it. Maybe it was just Jimbo.
It was Jimbo.
I don't pay a whole lot of attention.
It was Pinnacle 21.
Oh.
Oh, that's who it was. Okay. Yeah, I remember somebody mentioning it.
Yeah, it was Pinnacle 21. It was Milo.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I like Milo.
Yeah.
I like doing that accent. Okay, well, if you guys don't have any more questions, chat doesn't have any more questions, we're gonna take off. Thanks for joining us for Goblin Talk, the show that I can't seem to think of a better name for. We're going to see you tomorrow night for the hottest club in Waterdeep. That's right. And then Sunday we'll be doing Entropy, and who knows, maybe I'll stream Baldur's Gate 3 or something in between now and then. I don't know.
I would watch.
Why not, you know? It's D&D adjacent, so. Thank you for coming. Appreciate it. Thank you, Morgan. Thank you, Kristin, very much for coming and talking about these shows.
Thanks for having us.
And we will see you soon.
Have a good night.